A central pillar of Holocaust education is survivor testimony. For a number of years now, the International March of the Living has worked together with the USC Shoah Foundation in the sacred effort of preserving Holocaust survivor testimony. We applaud the important work and appreciate the USC Shoah Foundation for having shared with us from their archives of over 54,000 testimonies collected since the mid-1990s, a number of first-hand accounts of Holocaust survivors who were also personal witnesses to the horrific events of Kristallnacht.
All of a sudden, we saw a little flickering light. Mind you, there was no light in the temple. It was all, they were smashing, and then the flames got bigger, and the flames got bigger, and the flames got bigger. And then the flames started coming to the side of the building, and then they started shooting out to the side of the building, to the windows. These are beautiful windows, and you've got to remember there were chandeliers in there. They were made out of crystal. They were made out of this very expensive material. It was a beautiful synagogue. It was a masterpiece of workmanship, the temple in the Oranienburger Straße. Beautiful synagogue. And then the flames got bigger, and you could hear the glass just pop, and you could also hear the crystal sort of crack and shoot like a bullet coming at you. But you could hear it bang, 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 like this continuously.
And she brought me into the house and we locked the doors. And it was around 11 o'clock. And my grandmother was in the kitchen, cutting up the cake that she had baked and had made some hand cheese. There were a group of men dressed in the green uniforms. They were not the black uniforms at that time. They knocked down the door with an axe. They threw bricks into the windows, and then they came in. They destroyed everything that they could see. They went into the kitchen. They knocked down the flour and the sugar, the cheese that my grandmother had made, and then made a mess on the kitchen floor. And then one of them, can't figure it out, urinated on top of all of this garbage and then took his hand and spread it all over the kitchen. Another one went after my sister, and that's when my grandmother took things into her own hands. They took all the feather pillows, they took all the linens, they threw them out of the window, and all of the people in the town were downstairs outside collecting all of the things that were thrown out the window and taking them home. The only thing that survived was a sewing machine that had been covered up with some kind of a white cloth. There wasn't a chair left in the house. There wasn't a mattress. The mattresses they threw out the window. There wasn't a bed left in the house. And there wasn't a window that wasn't broken. And this was in November.
There were 30 SR. Do you know what SR? But not in uniform. They all wore civilian clothes, but we knew them.
How did you know what they were?
Because some of them were from the village, and the rest were strangers. But when we saw the ones from the village, of course, we knew then. They had axes, and again, it was my mother who said afterwards, these axes had brand new handles, so it was prepared, because Dr. Goebbels got on the radio the next day and said, this was totally unprepared. We had nothing to do with it. The people did it. And my mother said, brand new handles for the, anyhow, they actually hit through those iron shades everywhere. And then they broke down huge wooden front doors, and they came in. And my father came downstairs. He had put on pants over his nightshirt, and somehow I can see ourselves, the three of us, standing in the hallway against the wall. I stood on the first step upstairs, then my mother, then my father. And they came by us and started in the kitchen. And everything was demolished, broken with the axes. There was no window left.
There was a knock at the door. And it was not usual, for people to knock. And I put the Gestapo in civvies. Where's your father? No idea. I said, he is not here, and I had to open. And I remember the chutzpah, show me your IDs. I said to them, I was 11 years old, show me your IDs. And these guys pushed some kind of badge through the slit, and then of course I had to let them in. And they looked, and they went, we had feather beds in the bedrooms, and it was winter, it was a very cold winter that year. And they went into the bedroom and took out knives and slit the feather beds. And I remember saying, are you expecting my father to be hiding in the bed? I mean, I don't know where the chutzpah came from. And they shoved me around and said, you shut up. And anyway, obviously, I don't know what they were looking for. And then they left, and I tried to push the feathers back into the bed. Then eventually my mother came back and said, Eric, my cousin, and my uncle had been taken to the concentration camp.